Hey guys, and welcome back to another great episode of Pardon Our Honesty. I'm Tiffany,
I'm Megan.
and we are talking about whatever comes to mind today. So
Yeah.
get used to it because this
That's
might
how,
be our trend from
yeah.
now on.
We always try to pick your topic and it was like, let's just talk.
Yeah.
So, she was asking me before we started recording how I went on a trip to Gatlinburg with my sister we did a thing called Zorbing, which is only in Switzerland, but they have one place in the United States, which is in Gatlinburg. And if you haven't looked it up, you're getting a big plastic ball. They kind of have it at the beach sometimes, getting the big ball in the water. I was like forcing my sister to do this. I'm like, we got to do it. So cool. You get on the top of the mountain, you get in a ball, you roll down, but you don't flip. There's like water in the ball. You stay steady, but like you kind of sway, but the ball rolls anyway. And I picked the course that I think is going to be the most fun. And, my sister's like, and I'm like, no, let's go, whatever. So we get there. I'm like, this looks great. I'm so excited. Well, I'm a little claustrophobic, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So we get up to the top and I'm good. We're good. And the guy gives us the GoPro to hold because you have to hold it. They don't have a stick or anything. You have to hold it. And so we get in first off, you have to dive in the ball. Well, we big girls, okay? The hole, you have to dive up. The ball's huge. It's like 2 feet, 3 feet off the ground. That was embarrassing to start off with. You get a big girl trying to go through a hole and then you're stuck. The guys trying to put water to help you. I mean, it's embarrassing. So thankful nobody can have phones up there because it's so embarrassing. So then you finally get in the ball and we're in there together.
Yeah.
And you're in water. There's not a lot, just enough water for like stability, I guess. We start going down the hill. I'm like, this is great. And then like within 5 seconds, I'm like, the hell did we do? My sister is literally living her best life. She is laughing and having the time of her life. And if you watch the video, I'll have to give you a clip. Maybe you could figure out a way to like insert it. But I'm like, no, it's hot. You can't see because the ball's going so fast, even though it's clear, but you can't see outside. It's warm in there. There's water's randomly hitting you in the face. You're hitting bumps. You're I so miserable. And I'm trying to fake it to not go into panic mode because I start getting claustrophobic. And then my sister's over here living her best life. She's just loving it. And I'm like, oh my God, the video's hilarious. We get out, we get done. She goes, that was great. You love it? I was like, I hated that. She's like, oh, I would have gone again. I was like, no. She's like, well, I don't have to if you don't want. I said, no, I'll go if you want to. And she's like, no, I'm okay. I said, okay, God.
Oh my
It
God.
would be so much fun. And I don't know if it's the panic or it's probably really fun for most people. I would recommend doing it.
Do you think it's because there's control? I don't have control of it. You can't see where you're going.
I couldn't see. It was small. It was hot. The water's randomly splashing you in the face. You don't know if you're going up a hill, down a hill, sideways. Like,
yeah, I think that would make me nervous too.
Yeah.
Not.
It was funny though. The video's hilarious because she's living her best life, and my face is just like, what did I do? This is my fault. I planned all this, but it was a good time. It was a good time.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
I haven't been on a trip last year, but
for your birthday.
Do a whole bunch of girls trips, and
This
I probably
is the
should.
second year, just me and my sister. So she called me like 2 weeks before and was like, hey, we haven't done a girls trip this year. Let's go. So it just kind of was like a whirlwind. We both had a weekend before kids got back into school. And so speaking of kids getting back into school, your daughter's a teacher.
Yes, she is a school teacher in Charlotte.
And so what do you have to do for her already?
I've got to take her back to school. She's already here. Like, Mom, I need to go to Dillard's this weekend. And I'm like, wait, what? With my money? She's like, yeah, you're going to take me school shopping. I'm like, what the heck? But I do understand it. She doesn't make a lot of money. It's so sad how much she gets paid every year. I know she has a passion for ensuring those kids, because she typically teaches at a Title I school. That's, those that are not, well off. Yeah, underserved. And she wants those kids to have the best. She does use donors choose or donors choice to kind of ask for things for her classroom. Like, she got iPads last year, but I'm going to take her school shopping and get a few items of clothing, and then I'll post her Amazon wish list on Facebook. You guys do it every year. Help her, help me not have to buy all the stuff she needs for her classroom. But
Isn't it crazy though? Like our teachers, our professionals who are teaching and raising our children have to beg for donations for school supplies. And, Madison is going into teaching and she follows a lot of these teaching pages on TikTok. She tells me about, I don't have TikTok, but she tells me about a lot of teaching pages on there. And like some people will like comment, yeah, I'm not buying my kids school supplies and I pay taxes or I do this or I do that. And some of the other teachers in there were like, you know how hard it is for that child to be the only child without school supplies? Go to Dollar Tree, get them 5 things so they can walk in with something because it's hard for them. And then the teachers end up paying for it.
Yes.
And they don't have a lot of money.
Yes.
So I think it's really hard for the teachers. And like, I think in this climate too, I don't know, Maya could probably give more insight on that, but I feel like there's such a fine line of being the teacher you want to be and then what you're allowed to do. Because parents, the school process, like your kids are misbehaving, but now somehow it's the teacher's fault. Kids are allowed to have their phones or they're being abusive or they're, things that just never really took place ever when you might have a kid throw a temper tantrum. But nobody attack a teacher or.
Well, she did have a student like that, and I think it took her 6 months to get the child removed from the class to say, hey, this environment is not good for this student. He's not going to be able to learn, and he's very disruptive in the class. 6 months.
Yeah.
And in her county, kids under 2nd grade, they cannot be suspended or sent home. They have to just go see the principal, and all the principal can do is talk to him. And she's like, well, if I'm going to keep sending him to the principal's office and the only thing he's going to get is a talking to, then I might as well do that myself.
Yeah. It's hard because you can discipline out of love.
Yes.
And I don't think a teacher being able to discipline should be not allowed. I mean, I obviously can't touch somebody's kid, but you should be able to discipline, remove them from the room or put them in a different, like figure out what works. Maybe they have to stand up. Maybe they have to whatever. But I think there's so many strongholds on teachers now that I think I've met a lot just in our career field that have left teaching because of the stress.
Yeah.
Dealing with the parents, not having financial stability because they get paid so little and costs keep going up. And it's kind of sad to think.
And they deal with administrative politics.
Right.
So I think that's one reason she relocated, because she's taught for the past 3 years at one school, and now she's moving to another school. And it's just, she didn't see, she loved the kids. They were her babies. She combed hair. She bought shoes. She bought clothes. They were her kids. But the administration, I think, is what kind of pushed her out of the school that she's in.
And, I don't think people realize that, kids, they say they're highly influenced by their peer groups and what they experience at school. Like you could try everything you can at home, but the outside influences are stronger. You want them to have those good teachers. You want them to have the teacher they feel confident talking to or going and saying, I'm having a bad day or I don't feel well today, or you want that. But the more that you don't allow that, it's just like a good parent. If you don't discipline, have consequences, your kids kind of lose that respect for you. The same happens with teachers. If they don't build that relationship with you of respect and, accountability and stuff, you see these videos, these kids coming after, hitting these teachers, yelling at them, cussing at them. And I'm like,
we never did that when we were in school. I think
crazy.
For me to be where I am now, I owe it only to the teachers that I had in high school and maybe some in middle school that kind of saw my life and were like, no, baby, they made me come to school. They knew I didn't live with a parent. So if I didn't show up at school, they were calling, Tiffany, where are you? Get your butt to school. They paid for like senior dues sometimes because I didn't have the money, or they paid for me to go to the prom or whatever. So yeah, teachers for me are very important. I think that's why I do the things I do for Maya, because I know how that impact of a good teacher that cares and loves the student and wants them to succeed
has a huge
doesn't take no for an answer because I'm just from this background and I don't feel like it, and just, okay, well, forget you. You'll be one of the ones lost in the system, but they really cared.
Huge
so
impact.
Yeah, that made a life.
Yeah, I agree. What about empty nester? So for me, we lived separately, but when Madison left, it was very, quiet and very, it was hard. You go to your whole life is dedicated to taking care of your children, whatever. And then they go off, which is what you train them to do. Like, from a young age, we knew she would go off and she always said she wanted to go off. So it was learning how to pay your bills, learning how to make phone calls, learning how to do all those things to make you independent. And she left and it was very sad, very lonely, but it's also cool because now we have an adult relationship and I just love to pieces. Now Ava's going off to college and I guess, I don't know if I've ever used her name, but it's like, she doesn't live in my house, but it's like, I feel like it's going to be just as hard, if not harder, because she is Nick's, like, she talks and she hangs out and she's helpful and she's always kind of like, I don't want to say, all of our kids are different. They're all wonderful, but she kind of understood, like, if I do this, I get this. If I follow the rules, I don't get in trouble. I get rewarded. And like, she kind of got it. We went through a phase for a few years. She was transitioning from a life of before to a life here. But she's just blossomed. She's working, she's saving money, she's doing all the right things, she's going to college, she's doing all this stuff. But she's kind of the one that's left that's comedic. Is that comedic humor? And now she's leaving. And so I feel like it's going to be hard, especially for Nick, because like, God loved the boys, but for some reason they still have this approach that we're the enemy, or that, why do you have rules, or why do I have to do that, or where Ava, after 14, 15, she started figuring out, like, okay, I get why you're doing this. I've got to learn to do this so I can do that. Or I know why you have me pay this bill, so I learn responsibility. Or I know that if I break the rules, I have a friggin' consequence. Like, she got it. And it just, with the boys, it's like, they just think, they portray it as we're horrible human beings and we're so mean and we're so awful, and why do I have to talk to you, and why do I have to one more so than the other, one more so than the other. The other one, I think, knows how to play the game a little bit better. The other one just always acts like the world's against him. But it's funny because Ava's always been the middle, like, ground in that, and now she's leaving. So I don't think people talk enough about the dynamics of when you have some of your children leave, because it becomes a whole new household. Or like when your kids all left and you're now down to no kids. So when your whole life has been parenting and kids, raising them, taking care of them, and now boom, they're gone. It's almost like couples have to reinvent themselves.
Yes.
Households have to reinvent themselves. Your relationships with your children change. And then if there's still children in the home, that dynamic changes because now they're the ones being responsible for things, or they're the ones having to take over chores or driving or whatever. How do people, do you think people talk enough about that cycle of change?
I don't think they talk about it at all. I think the excitement of the graduation and, oh my gosh, I made this accomplishment of getting this kid out of high school. Now they're going to college. Now they're going to be an adult. I don't have to be responsible for them anymore. It's going to be so fabulous. And then the light clicks on and they actually went off to college and you're like, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah.
So
I think too is like when they're adults, I love it. I love my relationship. Like with Maddie, she's gone, but it's sometimes funny because they'll make decisions and you're sitting there like, you can't say nothing. You can give your opinion, but now it doesn't matter. And they could do like I told Ava last night on the phone, I was like, you don't have to hide anything from us now. You're an adult. Your decisions are yours. There's no reason to lie, hide about what you're doing, where you're going. But you're still going to have to be able to listen to our opinion as your parent and as now your adult friend, still your parent, but now we have an adult relationship. I'm not grounding you, obviously. I mean, you have to pass your classes. If not, your ass is coming home.
Okay.
But, other than that, but it's like, you're right. People don't think about that day they leave and you come home and the house is silent, or, they're out all night drinking and whatever, praying they're not coming, or they're driving or whatever. You're hoping they're making all those right decisions. And then you have maybe, like in Nick's case, he still has 2 kids in the house. So he gets that excitement that he's got one off and it's, you've accomplished those things, but she was the space that kind of made it a little easier sometimes. And now that's gone. And now you have to adjust to.
Yeah. So with I think Maya would have been your Ava and Maddie. When she started going off, I think I got a little sad, but I had to remember, okay, I don't have any kids in the house, but I still do have a husband. And I think that's something couples have to address and consider, that, okay, when all these kids are gone, it's just going to be me and you. So do we have enough in common that's going to keep us grounded? Or can we do some things or work on some things that's going to keep us grounded in this relationship?
Yeah.
We don't have the distraction of
the kids, right? And I think that's what happens in a lot of relationships is it's like, who's taking the kids to practice? Who's got lunch packed? Did you get this email? And everything is about the kids. And then these kids leave and you look at each other like, what do we do? What do we do now?
2 things. You're going to figure out how to be a couple. Yeah. You're going to figure out, okay, I'm just going to stay busy with other things that you should not be so busy with,
or
so
I
that
you feel you,
or you're going to be like, crap, who is
Yeah.
this person that's in this house with
Yeah.
me all the time? And I don't know if I like them anymore.
Because I think that people let their common ground go away because the common ground became the kids. And if you're not taking time to go do those dates or go trips or do things for yourselves, like some people feel so bad. I don't want to leave my kids. I'm like, you need to.
Yes,
Not for months on end, but a weekend here and there, because those kids, the goal of parenting is those kids to leave.
yes,
And
absolutely.
not just for you, but for them. You don't want your kids in your house until they're 50. Like, your goal as a parent is to raise them up to be productive adults, and they should want the same thing. So the more that like you focus on that, but you forget to focus on each other. I was watching that Gary guy on Instagram, Gary, whatever his last name is, and he was saying, like, if you have a child who's older than 22 and you're still financially supporting them, you're reinforcing to them their lack of. So he said a lot of parents say they do it because they feel like they're helping them.
Mm-hmm.
But the 22-year-old feels it as, you don't believe in me and you're just supporting my downfall or something. Like, it's very interesting.
Oh.
So I think, like, the earlier you prepare them to go be on their own and independent, you have to be doing that, preparing yourself to be independent, because you're not going to be a parent anymore. I mean, you're a parent, but you're not saying, do you have your lunch? Where did you get your dues paid? You know what I mean? You're not doing those everyday parent things. And I think the dynamic with the other kids in the house is having to, like, figure out that new, because people say you're a parent for the first time every time, because you're a different parent for your first child than you are your second, your third, your fourth. So that one kid leaves, and now you have the other two who just think the world's miserable. Like my household anyway is so stressful for no reason. Like, no reason. And I told you the other day, this parenting shit is ridiculous, because every kid is different, everything. And now that, Ava was kind of that buffer sometimes, like, and now you have the buffer gone and you're facing reality. One's not, as one knows how to play the game a little bit better. Hey, I know if I do this, I just need to chill. The other one just hates the house, and everything we do is portrayed as like awful. Like, hey, did you do your laundry? Why would I have to do that? You're doing too much, blah, blah, blah. Like, everything's dramatic. And everything's, everybody's against him. And
like you're saying, sometimes we as parents, we can give experience, we can give advice, we can give opinion, but until they get out there in the real,
they're not going to get it. Yeah.
That the world doesn't give two craps about you. I'm not your mama. I'm not your daddy. You get in trouble. These are the consequences. It sucks to be you if you don't like them. That's the only way they learn. And even now, although all the kids are out of the house, like you were saying, I still help Maya. She's a broke teacher. So I can't help it. I'm like, okay, I just am going to help her not pay all her bills, but okay, you want two outfits? I can do that for you. You need some help with getting the kids school supplies? Okay, I can help with that, because I feel like, getting back. Bag. It's not a lot. But there's two of them that I'm still helping. And I'm like, well, sometimes 3 or 4. And I just feel like, yes, you get them out of the house, but I don't think parenting ever stops.
No, it definitely doesn't
ever stop.
I think it's harder the older they get.
Yes.
Seriously.
It is, because sometimes it's like, dude, or do that. Hey, why aren't you calling me back? Why aren't you answering the questions I'm asking you about this situation that you brought to me to get my opinion? And then you go completely the opposite way. And I'm sitting here like, well, when that goes bad, you come back to me and be like, Mom, can you help me?
No. Or they you only hear from them or whatever when you're doing or buying something for them. But other than that, they want nothing to do with you. They blame you for everything. They're angry. They're whatever. But then, hey, I need money for this. Hey, I need you to pay that. And you're like, it's like, it's a battle. I think when kids get older, the harder it gets. Because I think once age 3 comes about, I thought every year got harder. People say it gets easier. I'm like, no, they develop their personality. Then they develop boundaries. Then they want to test boundaries. Now they're adults, and you have this weird, I need to make sure you're okay. I want to make sure you're not in harm's way, but then you're doing stupid crap. You're not making good decisions. You don't have a relationship with me, but, and it's this battle, but you're a parent deep down, and it's like, and every school year, I think everybody goes through a transition, because they're either going on to a job, or now they're married, or it's like that season every year that changes. And it's like, it's not always, you see people post all the wonderful things, and I'm guilty of that too. But I'm like, behind the scenes, there's so much more going on, either internally, like, I wish these kids just knew how much we didn't want them to go, or how much we love them, or how alone they are now that the house is empty, or how mom and dad are struggling now because they're alone, or like, there's so much more to the picture than just the picture.
Yeah.
And that's, it was funny. The counselor in one of our sessions said, what is something that you would tell this child or whatever? And I was like, the one thing I'd want them to always know is that I was hard on them and all that stuff because I love them, not because I was against them. And I feel like you're right. Until they get out on their own, they're never going to understand that concept. It's always going to be like, you have, something to say. You always have something to say, or you always have a comment, or you always have, well, yeah, because that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm your parent. I'm your guardian. If I see something not right, I'm going to say it. Even now, Matt, the oldest one, I see something, I say it. You may not listen to me, but I'm going to say, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think she can make her own choices, but I don't think it's right to not be involved anymore either.
Yeah. So back to school. I think one thing that I don't like about our education system is I don't think they teach life skills.
Yes, I agree.
I was thinking about, I saw this Good Morning America, they're bringing the trend back of only pay with cash.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was thinking about in high school, I took keyboarding, so I know how to type.
Oh, yeah. Remember, you couldn't look down. Yeah, I can type like a bad woman. That's the one best class ever.
They took in cursive out.
And they took out home ec.
And then, so who teaches you how to write a check? Who teaches you how to sign
balance your checking account? Balance your checking account. A lot of these kids look at their receipts on the ATM or whatever, and that's what they, and I'm like,
yes. You're just spending, you swipe the card until it says, oh, you're declining. You're like, oh, what happened? Mm-hmm. But when are we teaching that? So I think our education system, it does, its job of what it was originally made for, to train people to come and do stuff 9 to 5, and then you graduate and go into the factory, but we don't have factories anymore. And what are the life skills? So it's on the parent, but if you, the parent, don't know those life skills, how are you teaching it?
But I think agree. Like home ec used to teach you basic. Remember, it was like muffins, baking something, and then it was sewing a basic thing, putting buttons on, sewing like a doll or something, basic sewing skills. Like, I think all of that was so important. I think now technology has replaced the need for basic skills. People think they don't need basic skills. And I think, I always say this, and I know I probably sound like an asshole, but I think parents don't want to parent as much. Kids fight it. Kids complain. I don't need to know that. That's stupid. Like, we hear it from our kids when we're like, you need to know how to do this. Well, nobody does that. You're being too much. And it's a life skill. Just like being on time. Like, oh my gosh, these kids being late. And then I let them know I was stopping to get gas. I'm like, that's not why you're late for work. What? I'm sorry.
For work?
Yes. Late for work. And said, that's okay. I let him know I was stopping for gas. Dude, you do that on your own time. Like, so it's like little things like overdrawing your checking account. What?
That cost you.
It costs you. And I think the Dave Ramsey thing, like they said, the cash, my ex-husband and I did that when we were very much in debt. And you take your budget out in cash, you see what you spend. The problem with that now is so many places aren't cash friendly. So many are like debit card. So it depends on where you're going, but that can block you up a little bit. But I do agree, because when you see those $20 disappear in your pocket, you're running out of money. I watched Instagram. I was totally on Instagram all morning. And this lady posted how her daughter got a roommate in college. And the daughter said to the roommate, is your car broken? Like, why aren't you driving your car? She's like, no, it's not broken. She's like, well, why aren't you driving? It's been your 2 weeks. She goes, well, I don't have any gas. And she's like, okay, well, do you need money? I can give you $10 or whatever. She goes, no, my dad always put gas in the car. I don't know how to do it. So she had to take her to teach her how to put gas in the car. Then she said the next night she didn't know how to wash the dishes without a dishwasher.
Oh, Lord.
So I'm thinking, we do too much as parents.
Yeah.
Parents do too much now. Some parents do too much now. They want to take care of everything. They want to handle everything. They want to just, did you do this? Did you do that? Well, eventually, if they leave the nest and they don't know how to do any of this, you're setting them up for failure, because either people are going to take advantage of them.
Yes.
They're going to be behind from their peers, or they're just going to get made fun of or frustrated or so you're right. Basic life skills, to me, I'm like, we try to talk to the kids all the time about budgeting, and they're so annoyed with us. But we're like, your paycheck, you take a certain amount in savings, and savings is not, they have this thing with wanting to transfer out of savings to buy fast food or buy a shirt. Like, that's not what savings is for. And Ava's learning that now. She needed to put $700 into her car for repairs. That was her half. We had to pay the other half. And college, she wanted an upgraded room in college. And we said, we're not paying for that. If you want the private room, then you're paying for it. So there's $2,200 like that. Yeah. So if you're not saving your money, what's going to happen now if you have a flat tire or something goes wrong, which, we're trying to teach them, yes, we will help you if needed, but you have to contribute. Yeah, and I feel like they just spending money like
you're making it rain. My mom and daddy got money. No, I don't. I do not.
And if they don't have the basic skills to understand, like, when my money runs out, there is no other option. What do you do? What if you get in a bind? Like, you're right. I just think back to school is a refresher of how many kids don't know, especially when they go on their own. Like,
yeah, I think that's good what you said. Like, I'm not the fallback, because I know for me, when I went off to live my life, I didn't have anybody I could call and be like, can you let me hold $500?
Yeah. No, I mean, I never asked about, I could have, my parents probably would have helped me. I just didn't have that mentality, but I was thankful. I always had somebody to call, like, and ask for help, like if my car didn't start or something. But I had basic skills. Yeah. I knew how to cook I'm not a cook by any means, but I could run a stove. I can do laundry. I could do all those things when I moved out. And I think that's, to not know how to put gas in your car, to not know how to call a doctor, make a doctor's appointment, to not know how to do, like, balance your checking account or how a budget even works. And we've talked about this before on our podcast. That was something we never talked about with your parents. Well, now we need to talk about it with our kids, because this is why debt is happening. This is why people are living beyond their means. I mean, I see it with our kids. They will take that money and buy crap after crap after crap after crap. And then when they say, hey, I want to go to this camp, or I need this, well, do you have any money to put towards it? No. Well, that should have been the priority. That's the priority. Your college, you want your own room. That's the priority you're working towards then. All that, fast food and but again, there's the flip side of that. There's a lot of kids and whatever, their parents pay for everything, give them everything. They don't have to work. And so our kids, I think, sometimes feel like they're competing with that. Well, they don't have to work. They don't have to pay their bills. They don't have to do anything. So they want to keep up with the Joneses, Yeah. And it's like, sorry, baby, you can't do that. You got to learn that now, not when you're trying to keep up at 20 and 30 and you putting yourself in debt to keep up. So what did you say the other day? You saw that lady said parenting is
so good.
Yeah.
Raising kids is so
Yeah.
I love her because she's telling the truth that, like, I'm dealing with this and I'm going through this. And she even talked about gentle parenting. And I was like, oh, that was the other thing I saw. Gentle parenting is going out of the window. And I was like, it should have been out of the window, because why are we gentle parenting? If you do something in the world and you're of age, you're going to get in trouble. Right. So why shouldn't I teach you that when you're a young person? Now, okay, maybe we're not spanking or beating.
Say spanking, because I'm okay with spanking. I'm gonna say no belts, no beatings, that kind of stuff. But if you pop your kid on the butt a little bit here.
Yeah. So they're saying, okay, Johnny, you don't want to put your coat on. It's cold outside. Johnny, put your coat on. Okay, you don't want to put your coat on. We're going. Come on, let's go. And if you get cold, I don't want to hear it, because I told you to put your coat on. And
we're not going to buy you a sweatshirt. We're not going to do all this stuff while we out.
So there's consequences for your actions. Yeah. So I was like, wow, gentle parenting is going out the window. So maybe we did. This is wrong. And we were raising kids.
And biblically, whether you're religious or not, it does say that you are learned discipline by discipline in your home. So, like, I know the rod thing is controversial, but when there's strict enforcement of discipline in the home, and they learn consequence and whatever, it goes out into the world, like you said as well. I know that if I do this to somebody, I could have this consequence, or I can't speak to somebody like that. I mean, the way some of these people listen, we have a kid that responds to me sometimes, and it's so disrespectful that I am like, where in the world did you think that this is okay to speak to another adult this way, more or less a parent figure? It blows my mind. But
would do that to another.
I do. I think that if another adult challenged them at their job or whatever, they would run their mouth for sure. Because I do, for sure. And I've seen it because from other, like, coaches have been the way he responds. So I feel like it's I know, or and I'm like, when you take that out into the real world, you think it's cute now, you think it's funny. One day somebody's going to knock your ass out, or two, you're going to lose a job opportunity, or you're going to lose an opportunity because you were, I guess, because I mean, I obviously don't do anything about it. I just tell him I think he's rude and disrespectful, but there's a boundary there. But, I'm saying like a lot of these kids who don't get any discipline at all about anything, like it's going to be a struggle, whether it's the way you talk to people, you being late, you stealing, whatever it may be. You don't have any consequences in your home for it. Maybe you're a gamer at home and you think that could take precedence of being anywhere else, and you go to work and you're trying to do that at work, be on your phone or game. Like it's all going to trickle over at some point. And I think the gentle parenting has to go away because you're enforcing basically no rules, no consequences.
Yep.
Everything's okay. Every feeling you have is okay. Everything you want to say and do is okay. And I'm sorry, like I saw this thing that said you don't have to respect every adult. And I get that to a point. Like if adults are rude to you or whatever, but I think in general, you should be a respectful person. So like I meet people that I think are dicks right from the get-go. I'm not going to always reciprocate that. Okay, great. Thank you. Have a great day and leave. It doesn't automatically give me the right to just be rude to every single person. I'm going to always approach every person first with respect. Yeah. Now where it goes from there, we'll see. But I'm always going to approach first with respect. And I think this generation doesn't have that concept, because I don't think we'd have that in the classrooms, and I don't think we'd have a lot of that stuff if one, they were fear of consequence, and two, they had a different respect for people.
Yeah, because I think, like I was saying earlier, the discipline in the school system is not as heavy as it used to.
No, and the teachers are usually at fault now.
And yes, teachers are at fault, or the teacher just has to deal with that irate student until something really bad happens to say, okay, this student can't be in the school anymore. And I find that very disheartening and disappointing, because your child is being raised by that teacher 8 to 9 hours a day. Mm-hmm. They are teaching them how to be good people, good students, and giving them a basic line of education, but you're not willing to support when the teacher calls and says, hey, Johnny did this. Well, what'd you do to Johnny?
Right.
Wait, what?
Right.
I did to Johnny. These are the rules. We go over them at the beginning of the school year, because the parents supposed to come.
Right.
And you understand that Johnny not supposed to do this. So when I'm calling you and saying Johnny did this and you ask me what I do, well, then I'm not going to have anything to do with your kid. That's the way I feel, because if I don't have the support from home,
the kid in the long run.
Yeah.
It's really hurting the kid in the long run, because instead of the parent, like if I ever got a phone call, I'd always say, tell me the whole scenario. Give me more details. Because sometimes I know it could be my kid. Other times I go in there ready to fight, because it's not just my kid, because my kid has come home. My kid has told me the whole story. I want more details than you just blaming my kid. Now, other times I'm like, yeah, that's my kid. And I'll own that. Okay, if he did that, then he deserves the freaking consequence. Yeah. They come home all upset. Sorry. Yep. This is what happens. You chose that choice. Yep. This is the consequence of that.
So I've always been very supportive of the teachers. I remember my youngest son was getting in trouble. I think he was a senior he was a junior in high school. I went up to the school and sat in the classroom. Do what you was doing when I wasn't here. See what happens. I'm going to embarrass you in front of every single one of your classmates. And it's not going to be nice. But not all parents are like that. So, I don't know. Parenting is so ghetto.
Yeah, it's rough. It's hard. And I think every year back to school, it starts all over, because like summer, you're excited for summer break, because you don't have the homework and you have the chaos schedule. Then after 2 weeks of summer break, you're like, these kids need to go back to school. You need to be productive. You need to go back to school. And then they go back to school, and then it's a season away again. Like one of ours will be a senior this year. Mm-hmm. So he'll be going away.
Yeah.
And, and then we just have one left. And so every year is closer to another season. And, regardless of how difficult it can be, I think it's always very sad at the idea of one of your kids leaving, because even if they drive you freaking insane, you're used to that, and then they leave, and it's just like, sad.
Lose all that control and being able to see them and make sure they're safe. Okay,
yeah.
They're doing what
especially when you're not sure about their maturity and you're very nervous about the choices they're going to, at that point, there's nothing you can do when they're out there, but you're just hoping at some point what you've done is sunk in, even if they didn't acknowledge it at the time. But back to school is just
what is one piece of advice you would give someone that has young teenage kids, or just kids in primary or regular school, not college? What's a piece of advice you would give to them?
I mean, a lot of people say like, oh, enjoy this time. You'll miss doing homework one day. Okay. I will never miss doing
I don't even understand the
I will
homework
never
anymore.
miss doing homework. I think that's bullshit. What I would say if you still have younger kids is take the time to enjoy the moments that are enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like enjoy your weekends. And you might have a little chaotic time, most people with homework and dinner time, but take 30 minutes before bedtime and chill as a family. No phones. Maybe play a game at the table. Do something to like those moments can counter that stressful time with
Yeah.
like good memories because you don't want to have that stress, you know, when they leave that you're like, can't wait till they get out the door type thing. You kind of want to be able to say, we had a lot of good times.
Yeah.
We had fun. And, you know, it's not easy to anybody with kids in school. It's not easy. And if you feel like you're failing, you're not. If you're giving what you can give and you're doing the best you can, you're not failing. It's a hard freaking season and it's a long season.
It is very long.
Kindergarten to senior year is a long season. What's one of your advice you would give to somebody with their kids leaving off to college?
Definitely talk about the career path they're going to take. If they're going to go to college or a trade school, make sure that degree that they say they want is going to produce a income that will be able to support them in life. We're not just getting math degrees anymore because what are you going to do with that? And if that career path requires a master's, how are we paying for college and what are we doing? And then for me, I always gave girls cash to keep in their wallet. You don't spend that cash for I'm hanging out with my friends or I'm just going to party or whatever. That cash was meant for an emergency. So if you got in trouble and you needed some help and they didn't take a card or, you know, you just need to give somebody $20 to get you from point A to point B, you have that cash in your wallet so that you stayed safe.
Yeah.
But
With the girls, I don't know why it's different. I feel like I stress with them. I'm like, y'all go to a party. Please, if you're going to drink, just have one drink. Don't get drunk somewhere where people could take advantage of you. You know, don't leave your cup. Pay attention. Don't have your cup over here and laughing over here. People can always have a buddy.
Yep.
Always have a buddy.
buddy.
You go to the bathroom with the buddy. You go home with the buddy. You agree. You go together everywhere. There is no, oh, she's with that guy over there. It's buddy, buddy, buddy.
Yeah.
Like I get so paranoid. And I know you have to watch out for your boys too.
Yeah,
I know that.
too.
But I feel like there's a different fear with females because I know it happens to boys too. And, you know, when our next one goes off, we'll have the same conversations. But the girls just make me so much more nervous.
Yes, because
It's just
that
always
can change,
makes me
it
nervous.
changes
I'm like,
your whole life.
yeah, it's
Stuff like
something
that.
that happens.
It changed your whole life.
And
Yeah. Let us know what you think about parenting down in the comments below. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating so more people can get to see this podcast and we'll reach an audience just like you who's interested in all the things that we're talking about.
Yep.
Until next time, bye guys.